In this tutorial, we're going to graph f of x by hand. How do we do that? First, we find the zeros of f of x. So zeros are x equals 3, -2, and -5. Then we place these zeros on the x-axis. So this is our x-axis. Okay, so here's -5, and then -2, and then 3. So this is the order that we will see these zeros on the x-axis. We notice that these zeros divided the x-axis into 4 intervals. The first interval is from -5 to -infinity. Second interval is from between -5 and -2. Then between -2 and 3. And the last one is from 3 to +infinity. Okay, so now how do we graph? We need to know what is the sign of the function in each interval. We know that if the function is positive, then it will be above the x-axis. If the function is negative, then the graph is going to be below the x-axis. So in the green interval, we have to pick a number in this interval and plug it into f of x so that we can get the sign of f of x in that interval. So I will pick the number -6. -6 is in the green interval. So I need to know f of -6. So I'll plug in -6 minus 3, -6 plus 2, and -6 plus 5. I don't need to know the exact value of f of -6. I just need to know the sign. I know -6 minus 3 is negative, -6 plus 2 is negative, and -6 plus 5 is also negative. And then I know that if I multiply negative by negative, we get positive. Multiply that answer to negative, we get negative. So this tells me that f of -6 is negative. What's the meaning of that? It means that the graph is below the x-axis. So if I sketch the graph, it's going to start below the x-axis. It has to go up so that it will touch the x-intercept -5. And then we want to know how the graph behaves between -5 and -2 in the blue section. So again, I want to know the sign of f of x in here. So we need to pick a number between -5 and -2, which is going to be in the blue section or blue interval. I think I'm going to pick -3. So I want to know the value of f of -3 or the sign of f of -3. So I'm going to plug in. So that's going to be -3 minus 3 times -3 plus 2 times -3 plus 5. And then I just need the sign. I know this is going to be negative. The next one is negative, and then the next one is positive. So now I know negative times negative is positive times positive is positive. So f of -3 is positive, which means that f of x is above the x-axis. So that means that after -5, the graph is going to be above the x-axis, so it will go up. But it can't go up forever because there's another x-intercept at -2. It has to come down so that it can touch -2. All right, so now it's touching -2. Now we want to know what the graph does between -2 and 3, or in the black interval. So we need to know again the sign of the function at the black interval, or between -2 and 3. So I'm going to pick a number in that interval, and I think the number I'm going to pick is 0. So what is the sign of f of 0? So I'm going to put here 0 minus 3, 0 plus 2, and 0 plus 5. So I know this is negative, I know this is positive, and I know this is positive. Negative times positive is negative. So what does that tell me? It tells me that the graph should be below the x-axis. So that means the graph has to go down. It's going down, but it can't keep going down. It has to go back up because there's another x-intercept here, 3. So it's going up until it touches 3. Then we want to know what the graph does after 3 or on the right side of 3. Is it going to go up or is it going to go down? So we need to know the sign of the function after 3. So I'm going to put here, I'm going to pick a value for f in that interval. So I'm going to pick 4. So we'll have here 4 minus 3 times 4 plus 2 times 4 plus 5. And the sign is going to be positive times positive times positive. Therefore, the entire product is positive, which means that the graph is going to go to the positive territory. So it's going to go up. And because there's no more x-intercept to touch, so it'll stay above the x-axis. So probably just going to go up forever. And that's how we know how the graph will look like.